This is the end of the beginning. Welcome to today's show. If you haven't seen this tweet from Ben & Jerry's of Ben & Jerry's ice cream, well, you need to see it, because what's happening here is you need to pull your emotions away from how you're going to naturally feel when you see companies doing the things that they're doing and realize why they're doing it, why they're gaslighting the American people. They're gaslighting liberals and they're gaslighting conservatives on purpose, because they're using them to cancel out capitalism. That's what's happening here. They're using them to cancel everything out. So Ben & Jerry's, of course, because all of these businesses are playing the role of being completely out of touch with their marketing departments, and instead of focusing on what businesses are supposed to do, which is make money, what they're focusing on is self-sabotaging. So Ben & Jerry's tweeted out on the 4th of July, if this isn't deliberate enough, and you have to obviously use your mind and your mind, and think deeper as to why they're doing this stuff, right? So Ben & Jerry's tweets out, "This 4th of July, it's high time we recognize that the U.S. exists on stolen indigenous land and commit to returning it. Learn more and take action now," with a picture of the United States was founded on stolen indigenous land. Again, 4th of July, let's commit to returning it. Of course they would post this. Why? Well, they want to anger people. They want people to not buy their product. And you might say, well, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't sound like a capitalist country, a country that's trying to make money. You know, people at Ben & Jerry's have high-ranking executives from the best schools in the land, and they would know how to market to make money, not to turn customers off. Well, they're deliberately turning customers off. This is what's happening. It's self-sabotaging. What do you think? All of these brands like Target, like PetSmart, like Ben & Jerry's, like Bud Light, like they are so out of touch, one after the other, continuing to put out these offensive tweets that make people divided, that make people not want to buy their product, which makes half the country. Because really what it is it's whatever companies go woke, 50% of the country is not going to partake in that or participate in buying their products. Same goes the other way, right? So it's happening on both sides. Liberals are boycotting and protesting any companies that seem conservative or anti-pride. So companies that aren't posting things celebrating pride, they're starting to boycott. We've seen over the years, obviously, this all started with the liberals who are protesting and eliminating free speech, which they continue to do on a day-to-day basis and don't realize what they're doing because they're all caught up emotionally because they're being gaslit into canceling people, and they don't realize that the government is strategically doing this so that they can change the Bill of Rights and change the Constitution and put in hate speech, which eventually is going to cover everyone and prevent everyone from speaking freely, because there's no free speech in a communist society. Now, the other things we know about a communist society, which is exactly what this is, enough calling it socialism, enough calling it woke, it's communism. It has all these little ribbons that they put on it so that people don't research deep into communism. Like, it's not communism, it's socialism. It's the same thing. Marxism, it's the same thing. And there is no free speech. There's no freedom in general. There's no businesses. And that's another thing that people need to realize. Everything is government run. There are no independent companies. There is no independent banks, as if there are anyway. But realistically, I mean, there's one bank. There's a central bank. There's central businesses. So all the things that you want, like groceries, things that you normally go and buy, are all run by the government. Now, we can look at it right now and see clearly that all of these woke corporations are being run by the government. But what needs to happen is these companies need to go down, because it's going to be just one. There's going to be one ice cream flavor, or, ice cream company. There's going to be one clothing company. There's going to be one of everything. And one is really the neutral, central mindset of a new world order, of a communist government. So what they're doing is gaslighting both sides into boycotting and canceling everything. This is being done by design so that they can blame the people for this. The people are doing the will of the government by boycotting and canceling. Now, I'm not saying that people should go buy Bud Light. I mean, it's embarrassing if you buy Bud Light, obviously. People shouldn't go buy, support Target. I get it. But this is being strategically, psychologically done. The dismantling of these companies. So when all of a sudden all these companies are gone, everything falls by the wayside, and we have this neutrality and these equal big companies like Amazon's not going anywhere. I mean, these are all going to be state run. They might put them under new names. They might put them under a new umbrella, but it'll all be the same thing. And these people who are running these corporations, these companies, even like Ben & Jerry, know exactly what they're doing. They're being taken care of. They're not doing this because they're like, I will sacrifice all of our revenue at Ben & Jerry's just to get this message out about how we need to give back Mount Rushmore. And we need to, it's hypocritical, obviously. Anybody with common sense can see it's hypocritical. I mean, does Ben & Jerry's want to give back the land that their offices are built on? Do all the employees there want to give their homes up? Of course not. So Ben & Jerry's in general is doing just what Target's doing, just what Bud Light's doing. This is all deliberate sabotage. Enterprises and corporations and capitalism and, people being able to start their own businesses will not exist. And obviously, a lot of people out there who are Democrats don't realize this because they're too caught up emotionally from the gaslighting to see what they're doing. I mean, how unbelievably tone deaf would you have to be on the 4th of July as an ice cream company, a company that probably doesn't make that much money? I mean, compared to like Target or Amazon, but I mean, it's a huge company, obviously, so I shouldn't say that much money, but you know what I mean. It's Ben & Jerry's, right? Little old Ben & Jerry's over there. Why would they tweet something like this? Wouldn't they know after what just happened with Bud Light and Target with the boycotts and Kohl's and Home Depot? There's all of these brands, these huge brands are all being boycotted by half the country, right? And the next thing you're going to hear is just like we hear with Bud Light. Oh, their stock is plummeting. Their stock is plummeting until they go bankrupt. But they're not really going bankrupt because the government is controlling this. The government is taking care of the people at the higher ups of all these corporations because they're working with the government to do this and to bring about communism. All of them strategically working together. So you would think that somebody at the company would be like, hey, we are just Ben & Jerry's. It is the 4th of July. People like to eat ice cream on the 4th. We probably don't want to it's probably, I would guess, the 4th of July is probably one of the biggest days for them to sell ice cream. I mean, not just at the grocery store. I'm saying people going out and getting ice cream. The 4th of July is probably one of the biggest days. The whole weekend is, right? The whole 4th of July weekend. So what did they even maybe want to postpone that? No. Why not sabotage? Nobody there was like, hey, we shouldn't tweet this out. Right? What will we hear? We'll hear in a few days, oh, Ben & Jerry's stock is in the garbage. Oh, Ben & Jerry's is firing their marketing department. All strategically done. You have to be living in a different planet to be posting this stuff. Look at the self-sabotaging of the movie industry, right? Movies used to make so much money, and they continually, deliberately do this woke stuff to sabotage it because it's going to be, even though we can look at Hollywood, we could say it's government run, it's state run. We know the FBI and the CIA have their hand in everything that's produced in Hollywood, everything that's pushed, because mainly all the stories have the same type of plot in it. They desensitize people to the stuff, and they program people with the alien invasion stuff. All the crap that I cover over the years that they constantly show us, right? Every month there's a new movie about demonic possession. We see thing after thing after thing. But you see Indiana Jones coming out, right? And what happens with Indiana Jones? Well, Indiana Jones, in the commercial for it, they're like, I steal from you, you steal from me, they steal from them, and then they go, it's called capitalism. Just a lame, horrible joke. And they immediately take half of the audience out there and prevent them from seeing the movie. They deliberately put that in the trailer so that they can sabotage the movie. And what does the movie do? Well, for the most part, compared to most big Hollywood productions, it tanks, right? You don't think Harrison Ford or any of these guys would say, hey, this is my last Indiana Jones movie. I want this movie to be successful. I want to go out where people, remember the Indiana Jones or look at me and smile kind of like Tom Cruise with Top Gun with no agendas behind it. No, they don't want any of the movies like the new Top Gun that came out where they stay completely away from all this stuff. They want self-sabotaging crap out there. Otherwise, somebody on the set, somebody in the production will be like, let's avoid politics. It's a touchy subject right now. We want to make money. That's the whole point. At the very least, we'd like to break even. So you know what I mean? Can we do that so we could break even at the very, very least? No. We see it movie after movie after movie now. They're all bombing. Bombing by design. Companies making tone-deaf decisions. Bombing by design. Ben & Jerry's, bombing by design. Target. Right? I mean, the list goes on of companies that we've all heard people are boycotting over the years. But this is the problem, is that Republicans are feeding the same thing that the liberals are feeding. And I've said this 5 years ago. Some other YouTuber said it 5 years ago. Canceling each other out is what they want. They want all of us to destroy this government structure, right? So the whole Supreme Court thing, like I've talked about over and over again, is deliberately done. They're getting the whole Supreme Court is leaning towards the conservative side, right? And then the DOJ, the CIA, the FBI, it's all fully leaning towards the liberal side. Nothing's neutral. So then all the conservatives want to cancel the CIA, which they should, because they're the ones who are behind this entire operation. But my point being, they want to cancel all that. All the liberals don't want the Supreme Court to exist anymore, even though we would need the Supreme Court for capitalism in this country to remain fair and balanced. But we already know it's all compromised and taken over. So now it's just about the illusion of the destruction of all of this. And they're using regular citizens through mind control operations to cancel one another out. So then they could go, well, Target's out of business because the conservatives wouldn't go to Target. Target lost half of its sales. So now Target's not in business anymore. Oh, and that's not in business. That's not in business. Oh, but what's in business? Well, these government-owned and run companies and corporations are. Oh, okay. That's communism. Everything under Big Brother's control. So this story couldn't be fake. I mean, I say faker. I mean, they're really doing this. They're really tweeting this stuff out, but it's by design. It's by design. You have to look at these things and just realize, oh, they're not, the employees there, they're all woke, so they don't care about making money. Well, the number one reason to run a company is to make money, right? So what's the messaging? Oh, well, now instead of making money, it's about getting out the message to people. Oh, the message to people. But your corporation, your factories, et cetera, are on stolen land, according to you. So again, I mean, it's not only is it hypocrisy, it's stupidity, it's idiocracy. None of the stuff that's going on makes any sense, yet nobody stops and thinks and realizes that they're all being played and manipulated. They're just like, oh, we're going to cancel this, we're going to cancel that. Great, the government's sitting back smiling because they're the ones who are telling these corporations to do this stuff instead of just selling their products, right? This is a communist scheme that's going on here. And these people out there who are canceling one another out are just falling right into the deception. So keep an eye on these stories. I mean, watch the stocks, right? People are like, hey, we're conservative. Look, we took Target and we brought them down to their knees because, their stock is down. Look what we did to Bud Light. Bud Light can't even give away beer. You don't think that Bud Light didn't know this when they did it? You don't think that nobody at Bud Light was like, if we bring this person in, it's really going to turn people off to the product and we're going to lose a lot of money, right? Well, you don't think that the government's feeding money to these corporations just like they're feeding money to Ukraine? All illegal, of course, because our tax money is supposed to go towards fixing roads and keeping America flowing. It's going towards propaganda, it's going towards other countries, and it's going towards bankrupting America because they have to take America down to its knees and then billy club them. And that's what they're doing. And the citizens in this country are the ones who are helping Big Brother do this by falling into the trap, by falling into these deceptions that they're doing. So this is what we're seeing on a day-to-day basis. Every week, it seems like we hear another story about a company that's doing something completely insane, that is so tone-deaf, that is so just makes zero sense as to why they're doing this. And then they just pretend they're like, oh, they care about people. Oh, right. But they don't care about money, which is what capitalism and, corporations are supposed to care about. This goes deeper than just sabotaging the companies, too. It goes about the messaging, saying that none of us need to own anything. None of us need private property because remember, in communism, everything is eliminated. You don't own your home. You don't own, even though I know technically the government still owns the land. I get it, right? Because we pay taxes on it. But this is about shared community. This is what these sickos want. And that's why you constantly hear them using terms like, there are children. Everything's ours. We all share in it, right? While all of these communist creeps, these corporation leaders like the Bezoses, the Gates, they'll live even more ridiculously than they already live now because they'll have even more wealth and more resources and nobody will question them because you won't see them flying around in private jets with their carbon emissions because you won't be able to film them or take pictures of them going and traveling because you'll be in a smart city and you'll be trapped in a bubble, right? These people are destroying our way of life. And you might think, oh, well, it's about people's feelings. Well, at some point, the liberal people are going to snap out of it, but it's going to be too late. Because they're going to realize, you know what? I don't want these people in my yard, in my bed, coming near my kids. Because it's not like, there's the insane liberal people who want to castrate, and then there's liberal people who just don't have a clue, who are really just dumbed down, that don't realize what's happening here, who love buying their cars and taking selfies, and they don't realize that all of that is going to be taken from them. That's how dumb they are. They don't see what's happening here. And it's coming quick. A reminder, if you haven't subbed to my backup channel, please do so now. It's very important. I appreciate it if you would join. If you haven't yet, I want to have that channel ready in the event that this channel gets terminated or gets a strike. So please join that today if you haven't yet. I thank everyone for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families.